What's up, guys? It's Chris. First off, happy Easter to everybody. Um, Want to talk about briefly about the post-fight John Ruiz, David Haye yesterday, and of course Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones fight. Real quick before I start that though, in case you guys didn't miss the radio show last week, we did have Andre Durrell on. He pretty much was asked and answered every question about the fight with Abraham, the aftermath, the punch, whether he was acting or not. Any question you probably had for Andre Durrell after that fight or during, we asked and he answered. So if you want, you go check that out. Link will be in the site as always. So you can go check that out and hear what Andre had to say about the whole controversy and everything. What he thinks about Abraham. So anyways, moving on. First fight I watched yesterday, of course, was because it happened in the afternoon, was the David Haye John Ruiz fight. I wasn't really looking forward to this fight. Actually, it turned out to be a more entertaining fight than I thought. I thought it would be pretty ugly, pretty grueling, somewhat in the lieu of most Ruiz fights and possibly even Haye Valuev. But Ruiz actually looked the best I've seen him look in a long time, if not ever. I mean, at least the way he fought. He wasn't able to just do his one punch, two punch clutch type style. Maybe that's to do with Haye's speed and elusiveness as well. But either way, Haye knocked Ruiz down in the first round. And it actually looked like it was going to be over from there on. But Ruiz, he showed a lot of heart in this fight as well. The things that stood out to me the most in this fight, though, were Haye was doing a lot of fouling. He was hitting behind the head a lot during knockdowns. He did a couple times. And the ref never really admonished him for it. He did take a point once, but he also still allowed the knockdown, so it kind of evened itself out. Didn't make a lot of sense. But the announcers were very biased. They were blaming Ruiz for getting hit behind the head, saying, he bent over. I mean, the guy was already on his way down. He was getting hit behind the head. I don't know how that's his fault. But, the British broadcasting team, definitely very, very, very biased. I'm sure a lot of U.S. broadcast teams would be seen that way as well, but I thought these guys were a little bit over the top at times. Anyways, I got to give John Ruiz credit once again. He showed a lot of heart. He never stopped trying, but David Haye was just beating him throughout the whole fight. Controlled the whole fight, used his speed, pretty good power. Stunned Ruiz on a number of occasions, knocked him down a few times, as I noted earlier. And it looked like Haye was maybe getting gassed in between rounds. But that didn't really prove to be the case. Ruiz never really stopped trying, but it was a one-sided fight. And in the 9th round, after taking another pretty solid punch, Ruiz's corner threw in the towel. Rightfully so. Ruiz wasn't going to fight, but he wasn't going to stop trying. He was just going to take unnecessary punishment, so I could see why they did that. What's next for David Haye? He says he wants to Klitschko's, but he said that before and backed out of fights with both of them, so we'll see. I think both those guys were tied up with mandatories at the time anyway. I'd actually like to see Haye fight the winner of Chris Arreola, Thomas Adamick. Either one of those guys I think would make for a really intriguing and entertaining fight. So we'll see what's next for David Haye. But regardless of the dirty tactics, it was an impressive win for David Haye. Moving on to last night's too long awaited Roy Jones Bernard Hopkins rematch. Once again, $50 on pay-per-view. I feel sorry for anyone that paid for their money, paid for this. Unless you're a Hopkins fan, I guess, diehard like Justin Strikehearts. I'm curious if any who won seeing this one saw to the theater. Tickets were only $20. I didn't end up doing that, but if anyone did, let me know how the experience was. If you thought it was worth the money. Regards to the fight itself, wow, what an ugly fight. A lot of fouls. Not a lot of action, not a lot of sustained action, definitely, not rarely, few and far between. Roy anyone that's seen Roy's last few fights, granted he looked good in the Lacey fight, but you have to hold that against the Lacey level of opposition, but Roy just doesn't have it anymore. He just won't let his hands go. I feared ahead of time that this fight might look like Tarver Jones 3. It did somewhat, but Jones even had a little more left back then. Bernard, you can actually tell age is catching up with him as well. Granted, he doesn't have the most high punch output, but in this fight he really didn't. Roy just never did enough to win any rounds. Bernard was the bully in there like usual, was landing more, was throwing more. Roy was pretty much on the defensive the whole fight. Of course, we got to talk about the punches behind the head. Roy, I don't know the exact rounds, but he hit Bernard behind the head, and Bernard went down. I don't want to say if he was acting or not. I can't say definitively whether he was acting or not. It appeared to be the case. It didn't look like he took that hard of a punch, and he was acting as if he really got clobbered pretty hard, but I don't know. I don't know if he was just taking a breather or trying to get a point deducted from Roy. Either way, he got both the first time. Later in the fight, when he got hit behind the head again, no point deducted, but he did get quite a respite to, get his stamina back, I guess you would say. There was also a part in the fight where he was hit a little bit low, but it wasn't. If you watch the replay, it wasn't really that low of a shot. But you would have thought Bernard got kicked in the balls or something the way he was acting. I don't know. It was just unusual to see Bernard Hopkins acting in that manner. But I guess he was supposed to stay in the hospital overnight, so maybe it's more serious than I thought. Hopefully he's all right. I don't know. I didn't read any details today or anything, but hopefully he's okay. But I did think that he was over dramatizing the shots that he went down with. But who knows? I can't say for sure. But this was an ugly fight. Bernard won pretty much every round except for maybe one. The thing is, I think Roy could have been more successful. He actually would have let his hands go, but he just refused to do it. I don't know if it's a physical thing now. I don't know if it's a mental thing, psychological. I always thought ever since being knocked out by Glenn Johnson, he just hasn't been had the same confidence, self-confidence, self-belief. Just fights cautiously, really defensive, shelled up against Calzaghe, and he did that for the most part here. So, I don't know. I'm curious to hear what people's thoughts are. Oh, we did end up doing last minute, we ended up scheduling a post-fight radio show last night. I was just really, me and Ruff, we were texting back and forth. We were kind of worked up about the fight, so we wanted to talk about it. So we did do a show. It ended up going for 3 hours, actually. It was only supposed to be 2, but we had Gabriel Montoya from Max Boxing on there, and Serafina, who works with Roy Jones and other boxers, and anyone that's on YouTube here knows who Carcino is. He called in and had a lengthy debate about Mayweather Pacquiao with Gabe Montoya and another guy we had on there. I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but he's also a writer, a boxing sports writer. So pretty interesting show. Aside from talking about Jones Hopkins and David Haye, John Ruiz, a lot of talk of Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. So you might want to check that out if you're interested. As for what's next for Roy and Bernard, I think both should retire. I don't think that this win does anything for Bernard Hopkins' career. I don't think it's really it's a revenge in his mind, but I don't think it's any kind of redemption. I don't really think he gains anything with this win other than Roy's name on his record book in the long run. The win doesn't do anything for him, in my opinion. I think this fight was clear-cut proof that Roy needs to retire. He has nothing left. He has nothing left to gain. He has nothing left to prove. I just don't want to see him get hurt in there, suffering long-term effects. So Roy, please, please retire. As for Bernard, he says he wants David Haye. Don't be surprised if it gets made. Both are promoted by Golden Boy. Hopkins, we all know, works for Golden Boy. One of the promoters himself, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets made. But after seeing these fights yesterday, I definitely would pick David Haye to beat Bernard Hopkins handily. And I definitely don't think that after this performance that Bernard Hopkins is going to fight Chad Dawson anytime soon. And if he did, I would definitely favor Chad Dawson in that fight by unanimous decision pretty easily. I think he could do the things in the fight against Hopkins that Roy Jones couldn't do. But once again, time's definitely catching up with Bernard. He's slowing down, and Steel Fight's crafty, Steel Fight's very tactical, Steel Fight's dirty as hell. But got the job done here, but I just don't see much more big fights or big wins for Bernard in the future. Anyways, that's it for now. Be sure and check out the websites, overbloodfightshow.com, iStandandFight.com, LeaveItInTheRing.com, my Twitter if you're interested. Links in the information part as always. That's it for now. Give me your thoughts on the Roy Jones-Bernard Hopkins fight. What'd you think? But until then, y'all, I'm out.